Welcome to the Lighthouse Financial Advisors Money Over 50 podcast with Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue. This information is general in nature and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation or needs. Therefore, you should consider whether the information is appropriate for you and your personal circumstances. If you require personal advice, please contact Lighthouse Financial Advisors. Here are your hosts, Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue.
Welcome to Money Over 50, episode 20. Today we're talking about the best place to travel in your 70s. We're here again with Maria Pandalai from Travel Managers. Welcome back, Maria.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for having me.
So you're known for custom making itineraries. Tell us about what you do there and your experience in the travel industry.
Yeah, sure. So I've been in the travel industry for 23 years, with Travel Managers for 10 years. What I essentially do now is I'm a mobile travel consultant, so I meet people mainly at cafes. I feel it gives them a sense of relaxation in that kind of environment. It's the tailor making itinerary is something that I really enjoy doing. My clients prefer is because they're not seen as another number. Yes. You see those packages advertised online and that kind of thing, and I think they're all targeted towards the masses, and I think that everyone's different, and as our motto says, as individual as you are, which is exactly what everyone is. So one package may suit someone else, but it might not suit the other person. So I basically do a lot of custom making itineraries and just suited to that particular person.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And you're a passionate traveller as well. I know from knowing you personally. So I hear stories of when you've travelled, mm-hmm. and I can see how passionate you are. And I've heard many stories of you telling me about you booking travel for your clients, and I can see how passionate you are with that as well. So. Yeah. Something that you love?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's something, like I said, I've been doing for 23 years. And in fact, twice I tried to change careers and I got sucked back in, which is really interesting. I don't know how that happened, but obviously it's an industry that I really enjoy. I mean, everyone loves traveling, let's be honest. But, it's something that I actually enjoy, that interaction with my clients and getting to know them and just finding the right holiday for them. And I think if you are passionate about what you do, which I'm sure you are, Michael, it shines through to the customer, and they like dealing with people who are enthusiastic and passionate.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I certainly love what I do. I don't consider it work at all. So it's so rewarding when you can tell someone that they're able to retire, or even if they have 5 years to go, they're on track to being to where we'd worked out they needed to be, and all the levers that we're pulling are moving in the right direction. So
yeah, that's great.
It's funny because you mentioned everyone loves travel before, and right then and there I thought, yeah, people love travel, but there's a lot of hard work involved in actually making everything flow through to that end experience. I was thinking about the same thing with retirement. So that I guess getting people to the financial position that they can to retire, there's quite a bit of hard work involved on our behalf, and also the client's behalf as well, leading up to that. So
yeah, that's perfect.
It's similar in those types of things. So
definitely.
Getting right into it, tell us about the type of travel that people do in their 70s.
Yeah, so in the 70s, Michael, I tend to book a lot more of the organised type tours that are, with a small group or a larger group. Mm-hmm. People in their 70s prefer not to have to navigate themselves, and they feel, I guess, more safe as well with the group as opposed to being on their own. Mm-hmm. Similarly, cruising is really big for those in their 70s because same sort of thing. They're with other people. They don't have to lift a finger. Everything's done for them. They pack and unpack once, which is, obviously, very relaxing style holiday for them. And I've noticed a lot of people in their 70s now, because they've been to a lot of different overseas countries over the 30, 40 years of their travel life, I guess, they now want to experience a lot of Australia. So yes. Australia tends to get left behind towards the last part of their travelling.
Yes.
So Australia, and then whether they do their own thing around Australia. Or one example I could give is I have some clients who are doing the Indian Pacific train from Sydney to Adelaide, and then from there they're doing the 7-night Murray River cruise up through South Australia. Yep. So that's something that they want to do because it's something they haven't done before.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned in episode 18, which is travel in your 50s, and episode 19, which is travel in your 60s. So if you haven't listened to those yet, certainly go back and listen to those podcasts as well. In that, Maria mentioned that quite a few of her clients, a typical client of hers in the 50s is certainly time poor. They want everything to flow seamlessly. They don't have the time to dedicate to booking that great experience for themselves and doing all the research. And similar in the 60s as well. In the 70s, does that change? So the typical people that you add value to, your clients in the 70s, are there any I guess attributes that are different in their 70s as opposed to their 50s?
Yeah, so I find just the people who I have relationships with, in the 70s, they tend to have a lot more time on their hands versus in their 50s and 60s, because obviously in the 50s and 60s they could still be working, whether full-time, part-time. Whereas in 70s you would like to think that retirement is fully into play. Am I correct? Yes. And so I find that a lot of people in their 70s, because they have a lot of time, they don't necessarily want to book their own holidays. They still come to me, but they've got a lot of hobbies. So whether that be gardening, painting, tapestry, whatever it might be, I find they have a lot of time for that sort of recreation.
Yeah, that's certainly what we
see.
see.
That'd be correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So, certainly finishing off your working career, people don't tend to have the time for those types of things. Look, the feedback that we get from our clients that once they've retired, 12 months into their retirement, they often comment that they don't know how they ever fit work in, because hobbies have taken over their life, so they're far more interested in, and they have the time to do those types of things, certain hobbies. So it tends to be something where they actually do wonder how they ever fit work in, because they've now really have sunk their teeth into certain hobbies. What are the types of requests, the special interest requests that you've had to book some travel examples in their 70s for people?
Based on that, yeah. Well, just following on from what you've just mentioned, Michael, I have actually had clients who have come to me sourcing out types of group tours and cruises that focus on their hobbies. For example, photography tours.
Yep.
Could be gardening tours. So, for example, the Chelsea Flower Show in London, which happens in May of every year.
Yep.
So that's something that's really of interest to people in that sort of age group. Even painting tours and that type of thing. So they are more so sourcing out those sort of tours to gain more, knowledge or interests in furthering their hobbies, or their chosen hobby.
Yes.
Which is very, very different, because it's considered like a special interest type holiday. Yes. So just going on from that as well, cruising is still massive in that 70s age group as well. And as I said, there are certain cruise companies that do have those special interest hobbies focused around their cruise.
Yep.
One particular client that I have basically does a cruise every year. He's in his 70s. He's a solo traveller. Yep. He finds that travelling on his own on a cruise works really, really well for him, because he is with that group. And so he feels safe. He feels he can get to know people on the cruise if he wants to, being on his own. And it's a very relaxing style holiday for him. So it doesn't have to be focused around special interest, but cruising is still a major form of travel in that age group.
Yeah. So you tend to see more cruising and also organised tours.
Yeah.
In that age bracket.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I think at that age, people just couldn't be bothered.
Yes.
There's going to be bothered. So they just want to do something easy, still enjoyable, still see the sights of the world, but do it in a basis where it's carefree and, not stressful.
Yeah, look, I can certainly understand that. So, I know most of our clients in their 50s, like they've risen to positions of responsibility at the workplace often. So when they travel, they tend to want to relax. So,
That's
and
right.
that may be different variations, but it could include lying on a beach with a pina colada or two. Whereas what you're saying, once people are in their 70s, they tend to have more hobby related tours. And I didn't even know that you could do that with a cruise in terms of have a hobby related cruise. And you mentioned before, there's even country music cruises and all these different types of things. So I think it's good that there's those opportunities now out there for people who are interested in certain things that they can extend from there. Fantastic. So bringing up what people consider the more boring part of actually travel is financing it. So we actually take on the burden of building in to our clients' future retirement budgets somewhere generally between $10,000 to $15,000 per year of travel budget we use, and that's an implied budget. So when we're sitting down with typically a 55-year-old couple for the first time, we're working towards them retiring in 10 years, and what we try to do is we try to add $500,000 to where they would end up without walking in through our front door. So basically we want their retirement savings to be plus another $500,000 than what they would have ordinarily achieved. What we imply is that, we do a budget with people as if they're retired right then and there, even though they may be 5 or 10 years or more away from retirement. And implied into that, we start with a travel budget of somewhere between $10,000 to $15,000, and that's where we see it fall for most people. Some people are different. Some people have a budget higher of $20,000 per year.
Yes.
So tell us about this type of where can they go for $10,000 to $15,000 a year, Maria? If we've got that much to spend for someone that's just entering retirement in their late 60s or 70s.
Late 60s or 70s, yeah. So I think it touches back on to what we mentioned earlier, Michael. So the group tours and the cruising would work out more cost effective, because if it's a coach tour of say 40 people, for example, that budget is really good because it's spread across 40 people, as opposed to if they did a smaller group tour, which would generally be more higher in price.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Similarly for cruising. So with cruising, you have, I don't know if you're aware or not, but you have like your river cruises, but you also have your ocean cruises. Yep. Now they differ very greatly, because with the ocean cruising, generally it's a larger ship, so therefore more passengers. Yep. Again, therefore the cost is more spread out. But it won't be as personalised as such, because there might be like 1,000, 2,000 people on there. Yes. Whereas if someone in their 70s had a bit more money to spend, then river cruising would be more ideal, because then it's a smaller ship. It goes through the rivers, as opposed to the ocean cruise only touches on the coast of a country. So therefore you're getting right in the middle of the country that you're in. It's much more smaller cruise ship itself, because it is a long, narrow type ship. So with that sort of holiday, you're looking at more around a 20,000 per person to be more realistic on like a 2-week cruise, for example. Yes. That's without adding on any extras. So people do tend to come to me and do a 2-week river cruise, but they also stay in Europe for an extra month or 2 weeks or whatever.
That's a good point you touched on there. We actually talk people into a more expensive holiday, believe it or not, sometimes than a cheaper one. Yep. And the reason is, the frequency of someone in their late 60s, early 70s of travelling to Europe, they tend not to do that too often. For some of our clients, it's the first time they've ever travelled to Europe. We're of the opinion that to do it properly. So if they want to do a river cruise, that goes for, like you said, a fortnight. But look, to really extend the trip beyond that, because it's a long flight over there. And while you're there, you might as well do some of those other things. So we tailor make people's budgets as well, and we save up for that. So like I said, we have a $10,000 to $15,000 a year implied travel budget for our clients that are working towards retirement, and once they're in retirement. But we can save 1 year and bring forward the next year to give them up to $45,000 in 1 year for their travel budget. And look, if they can do a few more things for an extra $5 or $6 or $7 or $8,000, then we look to do that as well. I guess the overarching rule there is that it has to fit within their overall financial plan, but certainly we're about allowing people to experience these types of things and to fit it into their overall financial plan and to make it work. So that's really good to know. In the $10,000 to $15,000 range, could you do a reasonably good ocean cruise every year for that price range for a couple?
Look, I guess it depends on which destination you're going to. So, for example, if you just keeping with the Europe theme, if you did a Mediterranean cruise, for example, you could easily fit within that budget because those ships are much larger and can take more passengers. So the cost is definitely a lot lower than the river cruise. If it's not even a cruise, I mean, a coach tour through, say, for example, America could fit within that budget as well. Yep. So, again, group of 40 or so people, that could definitely fit in with that. Whether that coach tour goes for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, just obviously the figures will differ for that. And again, if they add on other things while they're there as well, which people tend to do. So, us being in Australia, we're so far from everywhere. So it's to go to Europe or to go to Canada or America just for 2 weeks is not really a common thing. No,
that's right.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we have an annual budget of that $10,000 to $15,000 range, but what we find is that our clients tend to travel overseas roughly every 3 years. Mm-hmm. So they wouldn't use anywhere near that $10,000 to $15,000 on the off years, like they do a shorter trip to in Australia, and those shorter trips tend to be more around the grandkids. So oftentimes people in their 70s obviously have grandchildren that are in the around the 10 years of age or slightly older or slightly younger. And oftentimes, because of the nature of work these days, that the people's children have moved away and as a consequence their grandchildren. So the travel in Australia in those off years tends to be a lot less than the $10,000 to $15,000 that we've budgeted.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it's typical that people will tend to travel overseas sort of once every 3 years on a bigger trip. So we carry forward a lot of that $10,000 to $15,000 a year budget into future years to do that overseas trip. Every third year. I have some other clients that have just retired recently, and we've actually factored in $15,000 a year for travel, and then 4 times, which is every 3 years. So it's the first. It's effectively the first 12 years of their retirement. We've factored in another $30,000 coming out of their superannuation.
Yeah.
To go on that bigger overseas trip.
Yep.
And that works in their overall plan. So it's more about planning from a financial point of view for us to make it all fit. Because if we can do it and our clients can do it, then that's certainly something we like to give them. So
that's great. Well, I think those bigger trips anyway, Michael. What I find and have seen is that, say for example, someone does do that river cruise in Europe, or they go through Canada and Alaska and do that Alaska Passage cruise and then go through the Rockies. They'll only do it once in their lifetime.
Yes.
They generally aren't going to go back to do those sort of holidays again. So I think the every 3 years thing is good as well. One thing that you touched on earlier, which we haven't mentioned yet as well, is with the grandkids. So there's actually a term for travelling with your grandkids and your kids. It's called multi-generational travel.
Really?
Yeah.
I need to come up with a better term.
Yeah.
It's not that catchy.
It's not that catchy, is it?
Yeah, no,
it's not that catchy at all. But what I find is, I'll give you one really, really good example. So I had some grandparents who took their 3 children, who took their something like 10 grandchildren. There's like 14 of them in total. They went on a ski trip and stayed at Club Med Resort up in Sapporo in Japan.
Yeah, sure.
And that was for a week. Even though the grandparents did not ski, it was more the children and the grandchildren. I find there's a lot more of that happening because it's the best way, well, in the client's point of view as well, is the best way is for them to spend time with their children and grandchildren without any everyday interruption.
Yeah, I can see that.
So
that's a great idea. Gets everyone together at the same time.
Absolutely.
In a unique place.
Exactly right. So yeah, that's I find that's kind of coming through as well. So I don't know if that's the sort of thing you need to factor in with your planning as well.
I haven't had any specific examples of that with our clients yet. However, I'm sure with most things, as they hear more and more stories, then it probably won't be too long before someone approaches and says, "Hey, what about this? How could we fund this? How could we make this affordable to do with the whole family?" So I think it's a great idea. It's a really, really good idea. Because we are seeing more and more families spread all around Australia and even around the world now. So it's common for our clients who have just retired or have been retired for a while to have a daughter in Perth with her family over there, and a son working in Singapore with his family over there. So it really is spread out. So that's a great idea, to fly to the one place and to have less distractions and to get everyone together at that one point in time.
Exactly right. Quality time.
Really quality time. So and I imagine that'd be a really good one so the grandparents didn't ski. The parents skied, and some of the young children were able to be happily looked after by the grandparents that weren't skiing.
Yeah, exactly.
Weren't of skiing age, so.
Exactly. Yeah, and your cousins are spending time together, and
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks again for coming in, Maria. This is the third podcast of a 3-podcast series. So episode 18 was best places to travel to in your 50s. Episode 19, best places to travel in your 60s. And this current episode is episode 20, best places to travel in your 70s. Go back and listen to the other two if you haven't listened to them yet. Even if you're in your 70s now and you think, why would I listen to the one in my 50s? The 50s and the 60s one, we also talk about Maria's background a bit more in those and what she does for her customers and her clients. So, a big thank you to you, Maria, for coming in and doing 3 podcasts with us. And it was really good to have you be able to tell your story and what you do for your clients. And certainly we'd encourage everyone to get in touch with Maria. We'll put her contact details in the show notes and the episode webpage for all 3 episodes. So you'll have Maria's phone number and also email address there to be in contact with her. So thanks again, Maria.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Money Over 50 podcast with Lighthouse Financial Advisors. We look forward to catching up again soon.